sides. So like the way you were kind of saying it is if both parties recognize that they're in conflict. Like for me, I know if I'm in a relationship with someone, and I can speak from experience, and we both know we're in conflict, we can work through it together because we both know there's a problem here. For me, when it's way harder is when I am feeling conflict and they might have no idea that I'm feeling conflict with them. To me, that's way, way, way harder to address it because now I could be making a big mess because now I'm bringing something up. I have no idea how they're going to hear it, how they're going to handle it, their own grid that they're seeing that through. Their own stuff. I have no idea. So it's very scary because it's not like we're both recognizing it. No, I'm actually stirring the pot here. I'm actually taking a risk that this relationship is either going to be drawn closer or driven farther apart when I bring this up. So I think there is a difference there.
So when you say conflict in that setting, are you talking about offense or just a difference?
I think it could be either. I think a difference can lead to an offense if it goes unchecked. But I think for me, like if I feel conflict inside of myself, so if you said something, did something, and I start to feel an emotion, then okay, I have to check that emotion. Is that just because there's a difference here? Is that because it hurt my feelings? It went against my belief. I have to first take that emotion and say, okay, where's this coming from? Then I have to say, okay, do I have a responsibility? Like, is this something I have to deal with only in myself? Because it is just a difference of opinion and we all have differences of opinions. Or is this something that I feel like could, if gone unchecked, it could drive a wedge in the relationship? Because then I feel like I have a responsibility to communicate in that relationship. Did I?
Actually, I liked that process that you just went through because that is an emotionally mature process of recognizing, should I deal with the conflict or shouldn't I? Because if the conflict is only within you because there's a woundedness inside of you or triggers or because sometimes people have been so addicted to crisis, they would be spending their life confronting everybody because it isn't really an external problem. It's an internal problem. And so that's for me what I deal. I have to deal first with myself so that I know if it is the right thing to do to talk to Katie. I know that I have processed through, okay, is this something that can hinder our relationship that we need to talk about this if it's left unchecked? Or Melody, you're just being sensitive. You're being fearful because this has triggered something from the past. You just gotta suck it up, go to God, deal with it, let him touch you, heal you, confront it on the inside of you. Because isn't it true? If there is someone who is addicted to crisis or addicted, they've had so much conflict in their life. They don't know how to live life without conflict that to have to talk to everybody that they have a gap with, a conflict with, a misunderstanding with, they didn't look at me right. Oh my gosh, it could, like you said, it could cause a lot of damage. And if I'm one addicted to crisis, I will drive people away from me. So,
and that's what I was talking about in the beginning, where someone just comes in like a wrecking ball. We don't have to sing the song, but they are used to a chaotic environment, and maybe there's chaos inside, so they're manifesting that externally, and they're used to that. I also think that there's the other side where maybe someone doesn't want, maybe someone avoids conflict because they're just not very good at it, or they make a bigger mess because when they do confront, it just makes it worse. So they just avoid it. So like, what are some things that can someone do? Like if they're avoiding it maybe out of fear, or they're avoiding it out of like, man, I just make a bigger mess. Like what are some things that someone can maybe be more aware of so that they can become, I don't know, more skilled at communicating when there is conflict?
I mean, I think communication to me is just paramount when it comes to conflict, because if we do avoid it and we do internalize it and we work through. Like I think I gaslight myself. I work it down so much that I'm like, well, you're just making a big deal out of nothing. But then it comes up again. I'm like, well, it's still bothering me. So I think just communication is just so important. And I think if we communicate quickly, and ask questions and have conversation, then I think that is a really big tool. Again, this is scary. Conflict is scary because especially when we're dealing with another person, you are taking a risk because you don't know how they're going to respond.
Well, one of the dangers of running from conflict is you're going to keep people at arm's length because there are unresolved issues. So you have to protect yourself. So you keep people at a distance. I know that you, when we were talking earlier, you said about choose your battles wisely. Or you might have not said that. I
did.
Oh, well, you said that, but I know I've been your son my whole life, and I've heard that before. So I wasn't sure if this was a past thing or we actually talked about it. So, is a battle worth fighting? So, what are some of the things that you guys weigh on whether I should confront this or I should just let it go? Like, what are some things like when you make that decision? Should I address this issue or should I just let it go? Like, is that battle worth fighting? What are some of the things that you guys weigh?
I think for me, if it's repeated, like if I recognize, say in a specific relationship, if I recognize that it's a pattern and it bothers me every time, then I think that to me is something that's worth addressing. I would also say, do they have the power to change it? Because if it's a simple behavior that they actually could just adjust if I communicated, then that is a great opportunity to work through like conflict in a healthy way. However, if you can just look at them, recognize their life, their history, their situation, and they actually don't have the power to do anything about it, then I kind of have to say, yes, this is causing conflict in me, but I feel like if I brought that up, they don't have the power right now to do anything about it. And so to me, that might be one where I just kind of pull back and deal with it internally. That's
because you're giving them the grace to grow. Recognizing that you're not putting something on them that they don't have the, spiritual, emotional maturity to even process through. And so you give people a lot of grace. And I guess it's because I've been in the ministry for all these years.
Or that you can recognize this could be more me than actually them.
Yeah, you have to look. If it's pushed a button inside of me, I got to deal with that button first. Otherwise, I'm going to be spewing on them. I won't be, in love crossing a bridge. But I think it's very important if we ask ourselves, let's say I'm feeling conflict with you, Katie. If I do not talk to Katie, it will hinder our relationship. Yeah. So because I love you so much, I value you so much, we've partnered together for so long, we have such a beautiful history of love and relationship, it would be wrong for me not to communicate that, because when whether it's in me or in you or just a clash or a gap or whatever it is, I know you will work with me.
Yeah.
And I will work with you. And we know we have trust already established. So when trust is already built, we can go back and forth across this bridge without fear. And we could say, hey, I just struggle with this. Or when you said this, we can be honest because there is no offense in our relationship. I can do that with my husband. He maybe he's having a bad day. I said, whoa, this is your wifey here. and, you don't talk that way to wife. And he goes, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Because I know he'll receive that. We've got 46 years of marriage and 2 years, so 48 years of building bridges that I can immediately say something that, I didn't appreciate him saying that to me. But
so the more secure you are in a relationship, the freer you are to address.
That's right. But if I know it's someone who is addicted to crisis,
you're going to tread lightly.
I'm going to be very careful in that communication, not because I'm afraid, but because I recognize they don't have the ability to trust or be trustworthy in what I'm presenting to them. Yeah. And all it will do is increase their offense, their fear, their whatever. And I just have to pray for them. And I love this scripture. It says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stir up anger. And so there's some times where I have to be brutally honest, and there's other times where I just have to have a soft answer. Mm-hmm. And so much depends on the recipient of this. Through the years, people have done horrific things, maybe accidentally or on purpose, towards me. And I learned through the years, if I try to confront that, it's only going to get worse. So I have to say, bless their hearts. God, they're in your hands. This is not my responsibility to fix what's wrong inside of them. And I've learned through the years that if someone is extremely wounded, they have to have encounters with God. And if they open up the door, I'll go through that door. Mm-hmm. But if they're a locked door, for me to try to knock down that door, to try to speak truth to them, it is an exercise in futility. Yeah. And so we have to look at where we're at and make sure our heart's right. We always have power over our own soul, over our own mind. So I have to look and deal with Melody first. Then secondly, I look at that person and say, do I have a bridge of relationship that I can speak to them? Mm-hmm. If I do, I always go there. If I don't, most of the time, I let it go. Unless they come and open the door.
So the two things that you kind of talking about, two things that you weigh, will this conversation make a difference?
That's said so good. Yes.
So I'm just wrapping it in a bow right now.
And you put a bow on it. Will it make a difference? Will it bring positive change?
And another thing that you talked about was, is this relationship worth fighting for? Because you said, if I don't address this situation, it's going to cause a gap. Mm-hmm. So we have to step back and look at the big picture. Is this relationship worth fighting for? Is this relationship worth going and being vulnerable and even maybe saying things that might make it feel uncomfortable? But is this relationship worth honest communication?
Yes. I mean, do we have that bridge of relationship? So, Joel, you can say anything to me, even if it'll challenge me.